Hello once again, it's the European Poker Tour. I'm James Hartigan, welcoming you to day 5 of the EPT Berlin main event, a tournament that began with 912 players and we are down to the final 17. This is Rick Dacey from the blog. Rick, we were trying to get down to 16 players yesterday, we fell short by 1.
It's only one person, and considering there's a 6k pay jump for the next, then you can understand there might be a little bit of reticence from some of the shorter stacks from getting it in.
So the ambition today, on the penultimate day of the tournament, is to play down to the final 8. So how long is a piece of string? Could take 3, could take 4 levels today. One thing we should point out is that most of the players remaining in the tournament have below average stacks.
That's true. I think there's only about 4 players who are above the 1.6 million. Obviously there's a few kind of jostling around there, but up at top is Roman Herald with about 4.5 million. A couple of players just beneath. Particularly of note is Kim Wynn, who was the EPT Omaha Player of the Year last year. So obviously an aggressive player, and he's got close to 3 million. So he's going to be a big threat actually in this.
People often ask us who are the big names left in the tournament. We've got a previous EPT winner in Kevin Stanley, took down Talon in season 7, I think it was.
Yeah, that's correct.
And also an EPT runner-up and someone who a lot of people know for both his play and his poker commentary, Olivier Busquet.
Yeah, Busquet and there's Calvin Anderson, of course. So that's sort of three highly respected players there. Starney's got close to 30 big blinds. Olivier Busquet has got just over 20 big blinds. However, Calvin Anderson is probably about 18 big blinds. So really, that first kind of big sort of 3-bet shove that actually gets called is going to dictate a lot, because either he's going to chip up to 40 big blinds and really be back in the run-ins, or he's going to be out, because he's the second shortest stack at the moment.
So we did a seat draw last night for day 5. 3 tables, 2 tables of 6, 1 table of 5. Importantly, there will not be a redraw when we get down to 16. We're just going to break table 3 and reallocate those players. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason to redraw again. The feature table's already looking good, and it's got Anderson and Wynn on, and Wynn has direct position on Anderson, which he could not have been happy about this morning, especially being a short stacked. Wynn is probably going to take his chance to knock him out, because he understands that Anderson, as one of the best online players in the world right now, is a threat.
Well, you probably heard Thomas Lamache, tournament director in the background there, saying shuffle up and deal. We'll get to the action in just a moment as we play down from 17 to 8 in the main event. Want to quickly reference the other tournament going on behind us, Rick. Day 2 of the high roller getting underway.
Yeah, another big field, well over 100 entries. That prize pool is not solid yet, because people could still buy in up until about 2 minutes ago. So at the moment it's Ronnie Voth, who was the chip leader in this a couple of days ago. He's got about 400,000, heavily stacked up. Max Likov is just behind him, so really big field. Scott Seaver's also doing very well, and you can follow all of that on the PokerStars blog as well.
Awesome stuff. So, as we reach the business end of the EPT Berlin main event, more language streams than ever before. So whichever language you're watching in right now, it's over to the commentators.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Richard. And hello, my babies. You are watching EPT live from Berlin, the penultimate stop on Season 9 of the European Poker Tour and the penultimate day of this tournament. Check out all of this commentary. Play will get underway right around the second level of the day, after we're done scrolling through all of these different commentary teams we've got coming at your ear holes today. French, Spanish, German, English, Latin American, Portuguese. That's it, though. Surely that's it. Surely. No! Belgian. Okay, well, that's got to be it. That's got to be the 2 Belgian. Wow. This is your real Romanian. Year of Romania. That's it, though, right? All right. Welcome to our broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at what you can see here today. We're starting at noon, and tomorrow for the final table, we will also be starting at noon, and there it is, just all in one easy-to-swallow pill. All of the languages, and 2 more dang languages coming at you tomorrow, Italian and Slovenian for the final table. What is that? That's like 10 languages? A dozen?
It's a lot, that's for sure.
God bless PokerStars. Don't forget, you can take us with you, put us in your pocket, hold us close to your hearts. Download the PokerStars.tv app. Watch us here live in Berlin on the go. That's available for Apple and Android devices. And if you don't have one of those phones, I don't know, time to upgrade the pager, ladies and gentlemen.
Obviously, we started the day with Rick Dacey from the PokerStars blog. We'll get updates from the blog guys throughout the day. And, of course, we're hoping to be joined by various players and members of Team PokerStars Pro. We'd love to hear from you, so do get in touch on Twitter. Tag your tweets EPT Live. Email nuts@pokerstars.tv. Follow the live updates on the blog. And you can join us on Facebook as well, the European Poker Tour Facebook page. But let's get to our first feature table of the day. Likely to be our feature table for the whole day. This is table 2 of the 3 tables we have in play today, and it's highlighted by Kim Win, EPT Omaha Player of the Year, Season 8. Also, among the chip leaders at the moment, as is Dashkin Aliev, the Russian qualifier.
James, we got to kick it on down to feature tableville because Calvin Anderson is all in already.
This is the first hand of the day. Dashkin Aliev raised under the gun +1 to 65,000. Anderson shoving from the small blind for 557,000.
And I think this is a great leveling spot already. You would expect that he's not going to be shoving the first hand too light, or would he?
Arguably, he's picked a good player to make this move against if it is a light shove. A reminder of Dashkin Aliev's story. There is only one place in the entirety of Russia where you can legally play poker, and it's kind of in the wilderness. That's what our Russian colleagues tell us. This guy won a live satellite at that venue to play in this tournament.
I mean, if he had survived the journey to and from the wilderness, the guy's probably pretty grizz.
Calvin Anderson continues to be a vision in green, as he has for every day of this tournament.
It's a lucky color. It's a powerful energy.
Get the impression that Aliev's been in the tank for some time. He eventually folds. So first pot of the day to Calvin Anderson. And every chip counts right now for him. 676,000. So 23 big blinds. Aliev, the table chip lead. Obviously, it's Roman Harold who's got the tournament chip lead, and Sally Ann's already tweeted, "Good morning, dynamic duo. Please try not to have that really slow player on the feature table." Well, there is a chance with his chip stack at the moment that he makes the final table, so don't be surprised if you do see Roman Harold on the TV table at some point in the next 48 hours.
He's definitely one of my picks to make the final table. I know at this point it's not really going out on much of a limb to pick people to make the final table, since there are 17 players left. But I get a feeling sometimes, just the way you see someone play, the way they're running, and also just because we always get stuck with the slow ones.
So a reminder that we'll focus on these 6 guys on our feature table. We'll keep you abreast of developments on the 2 outer tables, and obviously when a player goes broke in 17th place, we'll break table 3 and we'll get 2 new players.
Now, James, when you were listing the big names in this tournament, why didn't you mention that Mickey Peterson was still alive?
Well, didn't we call this guy Mickey Peterson's slightly older brother? This is Matthias Kessen, and he is also a Scandi. He's from Finland. And the funny story is, I think it was on...
He's Mickey Peters' other son.
I think it was on day 2 of the tournament, Joe, and we went down to breakfast, and this guy walked into the restaurant, and for a second...
I was like, hey, Mick... Oh,
we were kind of waved, thinking it was Mickey Peterson, and realised, nope.
Just another skinny blonde kid with glasses. There we go.
So folded around to Calvin Anderson on the button. Kim Win and Pascal Voss, the 2 players in the blinds.
And yeah, again, the blinds are 1530 with an ante of 4,000, so 45,000 in the pot just from the blinds. Add in the antes at this 6-handed table, that's another 24,000. It's almost 70,000 in every pot, just in blinds and antes.
Min raised from Anderson.
Keem win 3 bets. And if Keem can manage to knock out Calvin Anderson and not double him up, he'll be doing everyone in this tournament a huge solid.
So he's re-raised to 140,000. And with his stack, can't see Calvin Anderson just calling here. Not that isn't an option. Anderson folds. Paul Seaton tweets to say, quick shout out for Chris Day. I tipped him on Tuesday. Okay, he busted the main event, but he won the 2K side event last night for 97,000. Congratulations to Chris Day. Philip Rocken says, go Norway. Of course, Kevin Stanley from Norway, still in the field, looking to become the first ever 2-time EPT winner. And Cruel Intent said, credit where credit is due. Daniel Guy Pudden has made the top 20 of this tournament for the 3rd year in a row. That is impressive.
It's not bad at all. It's not even a little bad. It's one of the least bad things I've ever heard. Tell you what I'd like from today, James. Let's hear from some first-time tweeters today. You lurkers out there. Maybe some of the heroes that are out there. Just say hello. If you haven't tweeted at us yet, hashtag at EPT Live. We'll give you a little name check. We've got a lot of regs out there. I want to hear from some new people, especially the heroes, especially people that maybe we know who you are. I know you're out there. I guess it's kind of embarrassing if someone who thinks we should know who they are then tweets at us and I don't know who they are, and then I don't say their name, and then they feel like a jerk. But don't let that stop you.
One of our regular viewers, Dorothy, tweets to say, another day watching EPT Live. I should actually be studying, but I guess I'll have to catch up on Sunday.
Stay in school.
Don't forget, tomorrow we'll show you every single hand from the final table, playing down from 8 to a winner. Why do people keep tweeting saying there's no German stream? There's been a German stream practically every single day of the tournament. You're probably looking in the wrong place.
Pokerfirma.com is for the German stream. Is that correct?
Indeed. I think people may be trying to find it on PokerStars.tv. A reminder, you need to go to pokerfirma.com to find the German language version of EPT Live.
Is Commander Klink on the German stream today?
Commander Krieger!
Commander Krieger. No Commander Krieger today. Bummer. I guess it's no dumber than the name Stapes.
Calvin Anderson tries again. A raise from the cutoff this time to 60,000. Dashkin Aliyev with the decision in the big blind. It's the second time we've seen Aliyev with a big think. Calls relatively quickly.
There we go. Jan's written in to say, I know you don't know me, but I would like to know that you know who I am. Thanks, Jan.
Good to hear from you, sir.
Or madam.
Headley says, sun is shining, got poker on the live stream, snooker on the TV, can't ask for any more.
Check, 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 check. Anderson finally bets the river. That's 100,000 into 159.
Aliyev suffering from a case of the Heralds today.
And I think we may be subjected to this from him for the remainder of the tournament. And I'm not saying in a bad way necessarily. He's a guy that hasn't been there before. And I think that they're perfectly entitled, you know, more inexperienced players to take a little bit more time with their decisions.
So Calvin Anderson wins that one, now up over 700,000 in chips. Abu Bubu says looking forward to seeing Robert Auer, played with him in Dortmund. Ship it, buddy. Angelo says, Stapes, hope you're in a better mood in comparison to yesterday. You were getting a little bit grouchy towards the end of the day.
I was getting a little grouchy.
Martin asks, what is the average stack in this tournament? Just over 1.6 million, and as we observed at the start of the show, only 4 players coming into the penultimate day actually have an above average stack.
Actions folded to Anderson, who despite being relatively short has been very active already.
Calvin Anderson has literally played every single hand so far. Granted, this is only the 4th hand of the day.
You know, the one advantage he does have is that he's sort of, you know, a man on borrowed time right now, so he can put players to big decisions. Even though he's relatively short, a shove from him still would take a major chunk out of anyone at this table stack.
Okay, you know the cattle prod that we ordered for Roman Harold? I think we're going to have to start using it on Dashkin Aliyev as well.
Maybe just every minute he takes, we pluck one mustache hair. See? That got him going.
So what does Matthias Kesinen want to do from the big blind? Make it a threesome.
Please tell me he looked at his cards at least before that.
3-bet perhaps. You can see the handy graphic explaining the chip denominations. The reds are the smallest in play, they're 1,000. Blues are 5,000. Yellows are 25,000.
I mean, I think if he 3-bets, he has to be prepared to 3-bet, get it in. And so he's probably wondering what the likelihood is of Anderson raising light to begin with, how likely it is that he's just going to shove over the top if he does 3-bet. Kesinen with only around 1 million chips himself, which is 600K below average. So he may consider taking the shove away from Anderson. Checks his cards for at least the 3rd time.
Obviously haven't changed. And he decides to fold. Heads up to the flop then. That's a king high flop. My prediction, check bet fold.
There's the check. Here comes the bet. And
didn't say the fold would necessarily happen this week.
And
oh, prove me a liar, will you, Dashkin Aliyev? Is he in there with some funky low suited connections like 4-5 or 3-4?
Check on the turn, 9 on the river.
Check on the turn, and Aliyev has checked the river by the looks of things.
My guess is Anderson probably doesn't have a king.
$200,000 is the bet on the river. 2/3 of the pot. Aliyev calls. And Anderson shows. Jack 5, the 2 pair. And Aliyev mucks. So little by little, Calvin Anderson gets his way up over the million chip mark.
And that's a little insight, though, into the types of hands that Calvin Anderson is raising with. Jack 5 there.
Well, Joe, you said you wanted to hear from people who'd never tweeted before?
Yeah.
They've obliged.
Cool.
M. Lepanarm says, James and Joe, I'm watching from Estonia. Scott Howard says, hello, guys. Love it. He's in Perth, Australia. Riley G. Matthews Jr. says, watching in Las Vegas. And obviously, we've got some regulars who've come back for some day 5 action, including Timber, who says, so glad to have 1 week off to watch EPT Berlin every single day. Great job, guys. And we've got Yeroan, who says, 4th day watching in a row, enjoying the comments and guests. Keep it up. Can't watch all afternoon, though. My students get back soon.
Win raising this hand. Looks like Kessenen's going to be a bit of a dweller today, too.
Yeah, this thing's really going to go the distance.
That was a really big pot for Anderson, by the way. Up over $1 million now.
So it's Julian Thomas's big blind, right?
Correct. Thomas starts the hand with 1.4 million in chips.
Thomas defends. It's an ace, king, deuce flop. Thomas checks to the razor. Check, check on the flop. 6 of diamonds on the turn.
Check, check again.
10 of hearts on the river.
You know, it could be that Keem has decided that Thomas isn't defending too light usually. And we haven't seen too much of him at our feature table, so we're not quite sure how he plays yet. He may feel like he would have a hard time bluffing him off, even just a small ace in this spot. Now he's going to lead.
So Thomas betting 55,000.
I see a king.
King 10. Two pair, and it's good. Wolfgang tweets to say, I'm nitpicking here. Who would have thunk it? An EPT Live viewer? Nitpicking.
What?
Matthias Kesen is not really a Scandi, as only Denmark, Norway and Sweden are generally referred to as Scandinavia. Now, Wolfgang, I know that if we're going to use the dictionary definition of the geographical and economic area known as Scandinavia, Finland's excluded. We refer to that bit as the Nordic region. But as someone who spends a lot of time in Finland, Scandinavia has become more of a kind of general term for that area, and Finns do generally regard themselves as Scandinavians. So you're right, it's kind of nitpicking. So these are the other two tables. So the table closest to us is table 2. So let's just go around the table, and starting with seat number 1. So it's table seat. This is table 1. My apologies. This is table 1. So it's Lasse Guden in the 1 seat, one of the German players. In seat 2, in the green top, is Roman Koronev. Then we've got Philip Baruch. Lasse Christiansen from Denmark is the guy in the maroon top.
I don't want to be nitpicky, James, but he's a Scandi.
Olivier Busquet, 1 seat along. Alexander Helbig makes up that table. He is the current, or was the chip leader at the end of yesterday, but lost that huge pot to Roman Harold.
Alexander Helbig,
who is actually on table 3, which is the furthest table from us. Let's just go around the players there. Robert Haig, Robert Auer, Kevin Stunney, who you can see in the shades, Roman Harold, and then Daniel Gaypudden. So those are the players remaining. Still at 17. Still to lose a player and break that third table.
Voss raising this time.
Quick hello from Lucas on Twitter. Says, watching from Geneva in Switzerland. Great commentary. Your shout-out work, Joe. We are getting some first-time tweeters, that's for sure.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Yannick as well. He says, hi there. I missed my biology test today because I'm ill. Well, halfway because I'm ill and half because of you.
Amir, go back to bed. Aiden asks, are there any confirmed guests for the booth in the next few levels? I hope asking isn't a faux pas. That's not on our list of cardinal sins yet. But what I would say is, you guys need to go sweat the PokerStars blog in the High Roller tournament and really, really, really wish some bad luck on some of the PokerStars team pros. And then when they bust out of that, we'll get them in the booth. But until that happens, we're kind of going to be a little dry in the commentary department.
I think it's fair to say that most of the big-name pros who would normally be guest analysts with us are playing in that tournament right now. And it has only just become a freeze-out, I understand, at the start of today. You could reload up to the beginning of play today.
That's right. So,
oh, looks like we've got an all in here. And looks like it's Olivier Busquet.
And he's not standing up.
Looks like Olivier has doubled up through Lasse Guden.
How much did Olivier have to start the day?
Olivier started the day pretty short with 736,000, so around 25 big blinds.
Looks like it must have been a race with 2 sevens held up.
With 7s against ace-10. And with those 7s, Olivier doubles up and is back in this thing.
Anderson defending this hand out of the big blind. Just check the flop. And Voss checks behind. 3 diamonds, 2 flush draws out there.
Tony McElroy says, watching EPT live, come on Jake Cody.
Well, you couldn't have been watching for very long.
To be fair, Jake Cody is in the high roller, not that we're actually following that tournament. And again, just to reiterate what Joe said, if you do want to follow the action in the high roller, check out the live update section on the PokerStars blog.
You could also just be cheering for Jake Cody like in life. Like, go Jake Cody, make your flight home from Berlin.
Or maybe you'd like to hear some Cody in the booth. So Voss's raise was called by Calvin Anderson from the big blind. It went check, check on the flop, and Anderson has now led the turn for 48,000.
I think once, you know, these guys are obviously just about evenly stacked, and I think a lot of the time, once Voss gives up the betting lead, I think Anderson's going to bet a lot. And especially on a board like this where he could have picked up, you know, diamonds on the turn. Lots of draws out there. That 9 completes a flush draw and some straight draws. And just, you know, makes a decent pair for a lot of draws that were out there, too. Anderson's going to bet again.
$71,000.
That's a tiny bet.
And if memory serves me correctly, Pascal Voss turned up in a lime green hoodie yesterday as well, and things were getting a bit confusing.
They got together last night, figured it out. Anderson won the coin flip. He got lime green. This bet's just begging for a call. Looks like thin value to me. Let's see. Ace-10, is that a bluff?
Yeah.
Ace-10, but it... Oh. Catches the 9 on the river. I think that's a pretty easy call when you hit that 9 on the river. Pretty weak bluff attempt.
So Voss up to 1.3 million. Anderson back down to 890,000. Ezra tweets to say, I've totally lost track of how much poker I've watched this week, but the play, the commentary, the guests, learning so much. Niels says, watching from Copenhagen in Denmark, we would give an arm to have a leg of the EPT back in Copenhagen. I'm not going to lie to you, Niels, I miss going to Copenhagen as well, but I'm totally with the direction that the EPT has gone in, this idea of fewer events and making the events bigger and having festivals. And we've spoken to Neil Johnson, EPT events host, about this one in the past on EPT Live. It was a tough sell, getting people to go to Copenhagen in February and play against some of the toughest players in the world.
Because it's cold?
Well, obviously the weather is, for many people, a put-off, and the fact the field is incredibly tough. It's a small, elite field. Davey raises a fair point. Why would someone even ask for the password now when you can't even register?
Maybe they can only watch for a few minutes. Maybe.
Don't worry, we'll give out that information later on. Kevin says...
Wait, why am I defending the password asker guy?
Kevin says, today is Calvin Anderson's birthday, so feel free to give him all your love. Can we get confirmation on that? Is it really Calvin Anderson's birthday today? How awesome would it be to make an EPT final table on your birthday? Matthias Kesinen raising from the cutoff to 60,000. So who are we waiting for here? Calvin Anderson, come on. So Julian Thomas has flattered the raise on the button. Now Keem Wynn with the decision in the big blind.
Does he just defend? Does he try to put the squeeze on? Yeah, here comes the squeeze. Makes it an even 2-ball. Does Wynn have a hand, or does he sniff out some dead money here? One of the benefits of being second in chips.
Sorry, but I was kind of distracted there by the magic eye puzzle standing against the wall.
It's a sailboat. Kesinen started the hand with only around $1 million. You can imagine this is pretty close to ship fold spot for him. I think we should give these guys a little more time, considering what stage of the tournament we're at. But, you know, James, we say this a lot. You should have a plan for these situations. I don't think these guys should necessarily be thinking that they're going to raise and take it, especially when they're raising the big blind of one of the most aggressive players and one of the players at the table who's got the biggest stacks. I don't think you're necessarily too worried about what Thomas is flatting with on the button. I think at this stage, with Thomas's stack, he's kind of got to put a 3-bet in if he's got a monster.
Just to give you some indication of the rate of play today, they've been playing for 40 minutes, and this is only the 7th hand of the day.
I mean, in the end, all this tanking really hurts the short stacks.
Ah, thank you to Cami on Twitter, who says, yes, it is Calvin Anderson's birthday today, hence his handle 42688, April 26th, 1988.
Huh. It's like the Da Vinci Code.
And someone's actually sent me a screen grab of his Facebook page as proof that today is Calvin's birthday. Andrew says, on the flip side, how disappointing would it be to bust the main event on your birthday, even if it is a deep run? Well, someone called the clock on Kersen, and with good reason, quite frankly. But he managed to fold before the tournament director could arrive at the table. So now the decision is back on Thomas, who of course just flattered Kersenen's opening raise.
And he flats again.
Interesting. Does have the button, does have position. Jack 10-9 with 2 clubs.
You know, there are some hands that he might want to take a flop with in position, but not necessarily get it all in with. I think that this board hits a lot of those hands. Hands like King Queen and Queen 10, lots of Broadway hands. Also plenty of pairs, I'd say, too, which maybe wouldn't like this flop. Win does not continue. Thomas bets, and it looks pretty small.
$111,000.
Into 500.
Half the size of Wynn's 3-bet.
He's giving Wynn an incredible price.
Well, he calls. 721,000 in the middle. There is another club on the turn, the 5 of clubs. Thomas the effective stack with 1.2 million behind.
And the only reason I see you betting that small for values is if you just destroyed this flop so hard that you're just not afraid of any card that can come. Looks like now he's going to kick up the bet size. Not much, though. Still really small relative to the size of this pot.
$164,000.
What? Yeah, it looks like Wynn is going to try to get some more information here. Oh, no, that's just a call also.
It is just a call. Well, if Thomas was setting this up to ship the river, his bet sizing is perfect. The board pairs on the river with the 10 of hearts coming in.
It looks like the milk machine continues. What is happening? What is this?
$153,000.
This is your standard 1/10 pot bet.
Less than his bet on the turn.
I think there's a chapter on this in Super System. I mean, is he just trying to induce on every single street? I mean, bet sizes like this, it's hard to understand what the intent is, because if they're bluffs, they're not really going to work. If they're value bets, you're probably not getting max value. Unless he just thinks win is so weak that this is the only size bet he'll pay off. Is he setting the tarp? Is that what's happening here? Just hit this board so hard, like, you know, king, queen of clubs or ace, king of clubs. Just didn't feel the need to protect at all.
Win calls.
Is that ace, king of clubs?
Ace, queen of clubs. Well, he extracted 3 streets of value, however small those bets may have been.
It's not really streets, more like lanes or alleys.
Julian Thomas up to 1.5 million. Keen win down to 2.1 million. So we're halfway through the level. We still have 17 players, and they have played 7 hands at our feature table. It's been pretty slow going so far. It's time for us to introduce our first guest of the day on EPT Live. Someone who's been on the tour pretty much since the very beginning, but is only just now making her debut on EPT Live. It's Swedish blogger Lina Olofsson.
Hi.
Lina, great to have you here, and obviously no Swedes left in the tournament, but you've got 3 people relatively local to you who you're going to be following in this tournament.
Yeah.
When you started saying Swedish blogger, I thought you were saying Swedish blonde. Which also checks out, by the way.
Yeah. This event, it didn't in London, though. Then I was redhead.
Oh, that's right. You did have red hair then.
So, Lina, what did you know about the Scandies remaining in this tournament? I mean, obviously Kevin Stanley's got an EPT title to his name.
Yeah, I know Kevin, and I don't really know the Lasse from Denmark or the Finn. I was watching the Finn playing Matthias a lot yesterday, and he was a really solid but also aggressive player. I was really improved by his game when he was on the same table as Emil Olsson.
Well, Alex says I would call the clock every hand pre-flop on Kesin, and it's just annoying. He is taking a lot of time over his decisions today, and I don't remember him being like this yesterday.
No.
Well, that's the thing, is I think we have to give them just a little more leeway considering what stage of the tournament we're at. This is typically, James, the slowest day when we play down to the final table, and sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but it usually gets worse. Once we get to 10-handed and 9-handed, play slows down considerably.
But, well, I don't blame Pascal Voss for doing this. I think he's getting frustrated, and he has called the clock on Matthias Kersinen.
Well, that's what Alex T says he would do. I would call the clock every hand pre-flop to Kesin, and it's just annoying.
I mean...
Is it about the money jumps, or...?
I honestly don't know. I don't know whether this is a stalling tactic. I don't know whether this is something where he feels that yesterday that he lost chips because he was acting too quickly.
I think it might have done something to do with the money jump. It's 6K.
The dealer explaining to Luca Vivaldi, tournament floor man.
You're entitled to call time whenever you feel it's been too long. And I'm going to stay here. And if you feel like you're going to take longer than necessary, then you're going to start looking at your cards. So if you take longer than necessary, yeah, you're going to start looking at your cards. Okay.
This is a new approach.
So it looks like stalling.
I didn't quite hear what Luca's ruling was there.
I think he was just explaining to Matthias why they called the clock on him so early.
Yeah, that's okay, but we should still play, you know. I mean, you can tank a bit, that's fine, like 15 seconds for my decision maybe, but 1 minute is just too much.
Yeah. They're basically accusing him of stalling, and I think your theory is probably right, Lina. I think the money jump has a lot to do with it. Kersinen is one of the shortest stacks in the tournament with less than $1 million. Wants to lock up that extra 6,000 to get down to the final 2 tables.
He doesn't really have much of an argument either.
Raise and take it for Calvin Anderson. Selena, how long have you been on the tour? Were you around in season 1?
Yeah, I did one stop season 1, and then basically from season 2 I did all of them.
Now you are a stalwart of the European Poker Tour.
Yeah.
And what's your primary objective? Obviously, you're covering the tournament for the Swedish viewers, but I guess your focus mainly is on the players from the Nordic region.
Yeah, obviously, but obviously my readers also want to read about the famous players and other interesting things going on. So I'm trying to, even if I have a Scandinavian focus, I'm trying to cover as much from the tournament as I possibly can and get to know some new names each time.
Are we? Are you the one tweeting from the PokerStars EPT Nordic account or something?
PS Scandi blog.
PS Scandi blog. That's you. Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many of those like tertiary PokerStars tweet accounts. I'm never sure which ones are real or which ones are people like trying to fake us out.
Yeah, but that's me.
By the way, I'd like to thank Rick Dacey from the English language blog, who obviously has got much better hearing than I do. Luca's ruling was that he would look at Kersinen's cards each time to see if it's a genuinely tough decision if he continues to tank like that.
Really?
Wow.
That seems weird.
But if you feel that a player is intentionally stalling and intentionally slowing down the action because they're trying to ladder up, that is a solution to that problem.
That's so subjective, though. That seems like a... I definitely agree that something needs to be done about the amount of time he's taking. Okay, agreed. But I mean, maybe he's thinking about stealing. Maybe he's thinking about chipping light. Like, I don't know how you can decide for someone. I think maybe it's just the threat of that, you know, like when your dad starts taking his belt off.
Please decide I didn't grow up in that kind of household. Calvin Anderson's open to 60,000. Re-raised by Keem Win, a 3-bet from the button to 140,000.
I think I just unrepressed a memory.
Ironically, Pascal Voss, who is criticising Matthias Kersinen for taking his time over his decisions, is now in the tank himself. Well, this looks like a cold 4-bet.
Luca was just about to come over and look at his cards.
$268,000. Aliyev folds the big blind. It's back on Anderson, the original raiser. By the way, Lina, you were saying that you weren't that familiar with Lasse Christiansen, the Danish player. Niels in Copenhagen says Lasse is playing his first ever EPT, and regardless of where he finishes, this will be his biggest live cash to date.
Wow.
This
That's a nice start.
This cold 4-bet's got to get through, right? It's just crazy town out of his stack. He's not folding.
Wow, I have to say,
Yeah. Well, kids, maybe whatever.
I can't tell you. I can only ask the guy.
Yeah.
Like if he can get stuck in the 20s. No problem.
No, I don't.
oh, we've got this old problem, have we? They've asked Pascal Voss how much he's playing. He doesn't want to say. And they can't assess his stack because he's not keeping his chips in stacks of 20s. So, Luca, we need you again.
We're just counting what's next to us.
So raise, re-raise, re-raise. He's asking how much he has. Because he can't see it. He was just asking me if he could
Put it down.
I asked him if he could cut down into 20.
You don't have to respond, but you need to make it visible.
Oh.
So if you just make it in 20.
So that is the ruling, and
Now, if you can't stack your chips properly, Luca's going to have to come over and stack them for you.
that's exactly what's happening here. And we actually discussed this one with Neil Johnson earlier in the week, that you don't have to say anything if someone asks you how many chips you're playing, but you have to make your stack visible to other players. And as Neil said, it's a rule that's not popular with players like Marcel Lusk and Jason Mercier, who like to make elaborate chip patterns. But ultimately, stacks of 20 is only fair, so your opponent has an idea of how many chips you're playing. By the way, a lot of interesting commentary on Twitter about Luca's last ruling at the table. Ryan says that ruling seems ridiculous. The tournament director should not decide if stalling is legitimate based on cards. He is not a player.
Like I said, I'd be very surprised if that ruling was actually ever enforced. I think that's just sort of meant to light a little fire under Kessinen.
And it worked because he started insta-mucking.
So yeah, it's around 900 behind.
If I was Luca, by the way, I'd be like, let me stack the chips for the little baby. Let me help you out with the chip stacking. Here you go. Here's little stacks of 20.
So yeah, you're right, Lina. It is about 900,000 behind. Should point out, by the way, that the rule about chip stacking is also for the dealers, also for the media covering the tournament as well. I think that's fair enough.
I don't know how I feel about that one. I feel like if you're going to force people to stack their chips in 20s, why not just have digital readouts? Takes all the fun out of it. I'm fine at this point when someone asks for a count that they have to restack them in the stacks of 20.
An all-in from Kim Win, shoving on Pascal Voss, and he does not want to put his tournament life on the line. He folds.
Total bluff, total airball.
Kim Win back up over 2.4 million.
He's a really good player.
I mean, one thing I would say, Joe, as you know, that the rule for PokerStars-sponsored live events, wherever possible, we try and replicate the experience that players would have online, where they're always aware of what another player's stack size is, and it's only fair that you can see at any one time what your opponent has. They shouldn't have to verbally declare it, but you should be able to look at their chips and get a rough idea of what they're playing.
I understand. I cannot argue with that. It's just that that's part of the fun of playing a live event.
Olivier Busquet all in again. We saw him double up on one of the first few hands of the day.
He's also not standing up again.
Oh, it's already over. I think he won.
Yep.
And it looks like it's Yasser Guden again, who he's doubled up through. The German player in the one seat.
This could be a really good final table. I have a lot of nice names that I'm rooting for.
Well, a couple of questions for you, Nina. First of all, this one on the emails. Whilst the English blog is focusing on the chip leaders, significant pots and big names, does the Swedish version of the blog focus on the sickest ways to bust a tournament with an elaborate bluff?
I mean, it's not my intention to to focus about it. But yeah, for some reason, my player seems to. So yeah, I at least have a couple of those hands per day in the blog.
This is ridiculous.
Table.
Luca, we need you again. Matthias wants clarification on how long he's allowed to take to make a decision.
It's a good way to fight back.
Calvin Anderson has raised to 60,000. Kim Wynn has re-raised to 130,000. Kersenen's in the big blind.
It's not a fixed time. You have a reasonable time.
Well, how long do I have then?
If you think about your decision for 30 seconds, I wouldn't say it's a reasonable time, but if every single end that you tank
We
for
can make
build
the
decisions.
thing is, hands are different. Like in this spot where he might make a play, you get a little bit more time here.
You have to have a reasonable time, not a fixed time.
Yeah.
You don't have a stop.
He was stalling 1 minute more. That's why he called it quad
I understand. Yeah. That's why I said it's reasonable time. If in a situation you take, in a situation recall without action before you take a minute.
Yeah.
It's different than now taking.
Yes. And asking before you look at your hands is another thing too. Like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know so I don't miss out on any extra time I could make a better decision and then regret it later.
But as I said, it's not a fixed time. You take whatever you feel.
We're not going to
is
call
your,
you out.
yeah,
Like,
whatever
situations like this.
whatever you feel is reasonable for you. If it's not, as somebody called the flop, then we will give you a minute to act.
Yeah. But what was that? Checking my cards or what was that about?
This is brilliant, by the
I
way.
didn't say anything much.
Stalling by asking how long you can stall for. It's amazing.
You know, what I was saying is, if in any small decision you take like 2 minutes in the cold time, then
Small
we're
decision
gonna start.
like you play a hand, you want to play otherwise, and then you lose all your stacks. Small decision can
Just look at your cards, man!
He still hasn't even looked at them yet, right?
No!
Decided what to do. Now we're coming.
This is incredible. He's making a trap-sham mockery of this whole tournament.
We need to do something.
Could he get a
We're
penalty
taking
for
more time
this?
now to discuss about this.
Luca finally caught on.
Good man, Luca. You nailed it. By the way, in all my years covering the European Poker Tour, I have never seen the tournament director or one of the tournament staff called to the table that many times in such a short period of time.
If I was at the table, I'd be like, Floor! Hey, Luca, I just want to say what's up.
But I like the fact that the other players at the table actually started to discuss on how long time he could actually take if he had a decent hand.
Well, he eventually folded. Anderson moved all in and Wynn folded. So the pot goes to Anderson. There was actually a question, Lina, from Matthias on Twitter. Lina, in your years of covering the EPT, what is the weirdest thing that you've ever seen over the years?
Oh, it must be the thing we discussed over breakfast the other day with Tim Vance and the Jensen guy, Heads Up in Copenhagen. I think the Heads Up lasted for like 5 hours or something, and they were basically check calling all the way down. And it was like 10 hands in a row. Either it was a walk or it was limp. Check, 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 down to the river.
It was pretty painful.
Looks like we lost somebody, by the way.
Yeah, the tournament clock has been paused. 16 players remain. By the way, that last hand we saw Olivier Busquet all in. I actually think he may have lost that and may have doubled up Yasser Gooden because the German's got a lot of chips and Olivier's hardly got any at all.
Yeah, he just must have had enough to withstand being doubled through, but yeah.
So apologies if we called that one wrong. And remember, hands from the outer table that are covered in detail on the live update section of the PokerStars blog, but it looks like Olivier Busquet, having doubled up early on, then allowed the other player to double through him. The player out in 17th, Kevin Stanley. So there goes our final hope of a two-time champion here in Berlin. Kevin Stanley, the Norwegian player who won Tallinn in Season 7, is out. And we are down to our final two tables, so we're breaking a table. So we're going to get two new players at our feature table.
There goes another Scandi.
And your job just becomes a lot easier, Lina.
Yes.
Clause written in to say it's only a matter of time till poker players start diving to the floor, claiming they got kicked in the shins.
Ha!
No, you're not moving anywhere.
So remember, we are not doing a redraw at 16 like usual. That already happened. What they're going to do is they're going to take table 3, I believe, and divide up those players onto the other 2 tables.
So we're still going to have the stalling Finn on the feature table then.
We are, and it's going to be no longer short-handed. It's like Robert Hours getting moved to table 1. As is Philippe Baruch.
And we're getting the chip later onto the feature
Oh
table.
man, it looks like we might be getting Roman Harold onto our table. And Roman was a perennial staller 2 days ago when he was on our feature table. I can only imagine it's gotten worse now. I mean, just look how long it's taken him to get there.
He has a lot of chips.
He's got a lot of racks. Yeah, absolutely. So we may have a very slow table for you kids to be watching. And before you all write in asking if we can switch tables, the answer is no. We can't. It takes a long time to do it. Holds up the tournament. They won't even do it. Not an option. James, I got some bad news. I think Roman Harold's going to be at our table also.
Oh my. It's like watching 8 snails play poker.
You guys want to watch it live? This is what live poker's like.
Sally Ann says, I've never seen a game played with such bad grace. Ricky says, the Finn guy is owning the table. Ha ha! Hashtag sneaky weasel. Andrew says, is there some rule in poker about bringing the game into disrepute? And Steve points out that it seems Kessenen's stalling tactics did the trick, and let's see if he speeds up now.
Alex thinks we should use Google Glass to track chip counts, VPIP, and decision time in a HUD for live poker. Let's not remove our brains from it completely, Alex. I do like where your head's at, though.
But the problem now is that even if he made a money jump, it's a money jump every...
There's always a money jump.
Yeah.
I think 9th and 10th is now the only... Yeah, I mean, there's a money jump every 2 places.
Yeah.
So there's always a reason to stall until you're at the final table.
Just staring at the tournament clock, which is paused at 28:36. So let's just get this right. We've played an hour and 2 minutes of poker, and we saw 10 hands at our feature table. That's got to be some kind of record.
Standard.
Mark says, I thought my computer was lagging. Turns out it was just the Finnish player. And when you just broke the news there that we're going to have both Roman Harold and Matthias Kersinen and Dashkin Aliyev at the same table, people are, shall we say, a little bit disappointed, especially if you like it fast and furious.
Maybe I should work out some of my stand-up material while these guys tank and make it equally painful for everybody. Extra painful.
Here are the 8 players we're going to be watching now. Roman Harold and Daniel Gay Puddin are the 2 players who join the feature table. Roman Harold, the tournament chip leader with nearly 5.6 million. Average stack right now, 1.7 million. So we've got half the table below average. And less than half an hour left to play on the level. Then the blinds are going to go up to 20-40.
Which will leave even more players below average. Well, less big blinds, I should say.
Yes.
Average won't change till we lose somebody, but, you know, everyone's going to have even fewer big blinds than that.
Paul Keeley says, on the plus side, us neutrals now have 2 players, not 1, to anti-rail. Hashtag get a move on.
There is nothing like a good anti-rail, I will say.
Now, Lina, are there players, you don't have to name names, but are there players who are regulars on the EPT who you actually hope do badly?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, now you do have to name names.
And is that because of how they are as people, how they behave, their attitude towards the media, for example?
Yeah. I don't not like people on purpose unless they must have done something. Like,
Of course, it's not just you taking...
There's a few people that no one in media likes.
Eugene Kachelov had the last hard-boiled egg at breakfast today, and now Lina wants him to lose everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get the action going again. Obviously, loose definition of the word action.
I was talking to some of the Swedes yesterday, and their pick to win this whole thing is this Anderson guy.
Well, he's currently the #1 ranked player online.
I like the Kim Nguyen guy. I watched him a lot when he was playing with the grinder. He was also the one busting the grinder. He's a really solid player.
So it's an under-the-gun raise from Daniel Guy Padun.
I will say, James, that this most home games deal faster than this. And we're usually getting maybe 10 hands an hour in the home game.
I remember the other night apologising to all of the EPT dealers for having to deal the media event. It was a walk in the park compared with this.
Maybe all the noisy players at the table was more frustrating for them than the actual time we took each hand.
To be fair, all the dealers said that they actually enjoy it because they feel it's a very relaxed game. They don't have to be kind of as on it as they would if it's a serious tournament.
Oh, okay, nice.
Wow.
That was reasonable.
Yeah, but here comes Big Blind. Oh, he's also folding.
All in the call. Padun responded with a shove, and Nguyen quickly called. He has ace-king suited.
2 Germans.
And Padun has jacks. Flip.
This is a race like the Big Mac versus the Quarter Pounder.
And there is an ace, however. It's all diamonds. And Padun has the jack of diamonds.
Gulp. Just a diamond or a jack.
Wow.
There it is.
2 pair for Nguyen. The diamond flush for Daniel Gay Padun as he doubles up through Keem.
Nice hand, Puddin.
Win down to 1.3 million. Padun up to over 2 million in chips. Big swings we're seeing now. By the way, Lucas points out that 7 of the 8 players at the top of the leaderboard are from Germany. Go, go Germany, hashtag bring it home. I think I'm right in saying, Joe, that last year the home nation was pretty well represented. I want to say that 4 of the players out of the 8 were from Germany.
I don't know. You're always right, so I don't want to disagree with you. It wasn't as bad as Barcelona in season 8, when it was like 6 out of 8 players at the final table were from Spain, and they couldn't get it done. There were, I want to say, at least 3 Germans at the final table last year.
It may have been 2 or 3, but...
I just find out that there would be 4, and we went heads up between a Belgian and is Andrew Chen Canadian or American? Canadian.
Hammer tweets to say, just in, who is this beautiful accent next to Stapes and Hartigan? That is Lina Olofsson, the Swedish blogger extraordinaire. And photography is your new passion, Lina. I mean, you've always obviously taken photographs for the blog, but you are photographing a lot at the moment.
Yeah, I am. It goes on and off, actually. It's a matter of how much time I have and how much energy. And like this event, I haven't been partying that much. So then I have a lot of energy, and then I take a lot of pictures.
Lina took a photo of me the other night. That might actually be my favorite photo that's ever been
really
taken
good
of
one.
me on the tour. And it's of me choking out Matt Harper.
Look at the look on his on the other girl's face.
Poker Stars media czar.
You even took a massage in the media tournament.
What
That's
else am I-
high rolling.
When else am I going to get one?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Well, at the start of the show, Joe asked first-time tweeters to get in touch, and here's another one. Phil says that Pidun said on a German poker show that he's only played 3 EPT main events in his life.
So he's
All 3
for
times, it's EPT Berlin, and all 3 times he's made the money and gone deep.
Good for him. That's cool.
Wow, look at this. And he didn't even think.
Matthias Kersinen raises his button to 60,000. Now Roman Harold. Wow, what glitch in the matrix. Both Kersinen and Harold acted within like 5 seconds of looking at their cards.
Harold's got a clean slate for me as far as I'm concerned for today. Maybe he just legit had some crazy decisions the other day.
And also, when he was playing on the outer table, he didn't take that long time, actually.
So maybe it was too small of a sample size. So according to Kevin McPhee's Twitter, they're down to 37 in the high roller, 16 get paid.
When it comes to administration, when in the high roller, it must be so frustrating working with it, because it's like when they started yesterday, they were 20 people registered, maybe 7 were in their seats.
Yeah.
And then after an hour they were 50, and then after 2 hours they were up to 80, and then after 3 hours they were 100. I mean, it must be so
And then
hard.
140 total, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I would just let them play short-handed, but they don't. They actually work with it. They work around it.
They
so.
just fill the tables?
Yeah, they fill up the tables and they move players, and then they fill up another table, and then they're moving them instead of like opening 7 tables and let them be short-handed. They actually start with a few tables and then they break them, or like move players from them.
So Keem Win raises under the gun +1 to 60,000. Matthias Kersinen 3 bets to 150k and wins the pot.
See, this is boring with nothing to complain about now.
No, it's been at least 15 minutes since Luca Vivaldi was at the table. Philip on Twitter asks, are the Scandinavians generally more crazy in general than other poker players?
Yeah, I think so. Not if you compare them to the Italians, but yeah. In general, I think they are... I think the people...
And Italy is no longer a part of Scandinavia, or...
No. But, I mean, I think a lot of the Scandis are thought that you should always play to win it. So, it's not, especially when it comes to Swedes. They aren't too afraid of bubbling or go out right before the bubble or anything.
Jimmy Jam, can we get a lineup of this outer table here? Just a quick reminder of who everybody is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously some new players have joined this table. In the one seat in the white hoodie, that's Yasser Guden, one of the German players. Roman Koronev, a Russian qualifier, in seat number 2 in the green jacket. Then Philippe Baruch, who we can't see there, the French player.
But he's there.
He's there.
He's there.
There he is. In the headphones in the maroon top, that's Lasse Christiansen from Denmark. And then we've got Olivier Busquet, who we all know. Alexander Helbig, chip leader for most of yesterday. And then Robert Haig, a German player with a lot of pedigree. And finally, Robert Auer in the red sunglasses. The German player has really impressed us with what we've seen of him so far in this tournament.
Can't help but notice he's wearing the exact same clothes he was wearing yesterday. And all I have to say to that is, gross.
Yeah, I hate the whole lucky T-shirt thing. And sorry, I'm going to call out a member of Team Pro here, but when Maxim Likov won EPT Kiev, he had this rather garish pink Ed Hardy T-shirt, which obviously became his lucky T-shirt for the tournament. And he wore it every single day, right up to and including the final table when he won the thing. And when obviously people had to go in and photograph and interview him at the end, he was a little bit stinky.
He was. Wow. Why don't you just have a thing, like a card protector or something, that you can hope to, that brings you luck?
Something that
so you
doesn't
can
require
actually
a
shower.
stench.
Yeah. So you can actually change clothes every day.
That's not how it works. You don't decide what's lucky. It decides you.
Yeah. But I mean, poker players, they stink in general, so...
Can't really argue with that. This is a 3-bet from Calvin Anderson into the opening raise of Matti Kessinen.
Do you consider yourself a poker player, Lina? Do you play much these days?
I play a lot, but no, I don't consider myself a poker player. I have poker as a hobby, but no. I would be too bored playing poker full time.
Especially against this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair though, this is a genuine decision. His pre-flop raise has been re-raised. That is a 4-bet from Kessinen. $230,000. Oh no, Anderson's doing his whole bring it in thing. This is where he then 5-bets and we lose track of how much he's betting. But if anyone's going to keep track of this betting, it's Marketa.
Looks like a call.
Well, he's done this on 2 previous occasions. Facing a 4-bet, Anderson has asked the dealer to bring it in. And on both previous occasions, he's then responded with a 5-bet.
Yeah, he raises. And then nobody knows what the hell's going on.
Exactly. But I have every confidence that Marketa will be able to reconstruct. So anything he puts in will be on top of the 144,000 that he bet last time.
David Yanis tweeted in to ask, who's the lovely Swedish girl who's with you guys? Just started watching. Scandi girls are the best.
Agreed.
David's going to be joining us at 3:30 for commentary. But before that, Mike McDonald. After him, Elke. And after that, maybe Eugene Kachalov. There's the 5-bet. Yeah? 5 bizzle? Little 5-bet?
No,
A
I
little
think
5th bet?
yeah.
Yeah, you get a little 5-bet there? A little 5-bet?
It was a very small 5-bet.
Oh, raise. Huh?
All in the call.
Ace king.
And ace.
Looks like kings.
Yeah. Kersanen says, you normally suck out on me online.
Ha!
Kings against ace king, and who's the player at risk here? By our calculations, Kersanen just has Anderson covered. If Kersanen loses, he'll have about 40k behind. So this is Calvin Anderson's tournament life here on his birthday.
It's really both their tournament lives, to be honest, because Kesnan will have 1.1 big blinds left.
You can think for a long time with 1.5 big blind left.
Put 5 clubs out there. Wow, that's going to happen. These two are just going to chop it up.
Wow.
No way. No way.
The river
Oh!
is a club!
Oh, man.
It is 5 clubs. It is going to be a split.
OMG. I'm going to go play the lottery. I'll be right back.
Before you go, Joe,
Yeah.
you know what they say, don't you? Everyone loves a chop pot.
Especially when it's all clubs.
That was
You even called that
insane.
before the flop came.
That
I
was
started saying it before the
insane.
flop came, yeah.
Wow.
Meanwhile, an all-in on the outer table. Philippe Baruch, the player all-in. And he has been called by Roman Koronev. Aces, though, the hand for Baruch. Was that pocket 7s for Koronev?
Yeah, it looked like 7s.
Oh! 7 on the river!
No, that was... Oh, Baruch took it really well.
Oh, he was almost hitting the dealer, though.
He launched at the dealer in comical fashion. Oh, dear. So Philippe Baruch from France, out. We're down to 15 at EPT Berlin. Another update, by the way, from Kevin McPhee. Bust. I open 10s under the gun +1. Big blind rips, 30 big blinds with jacks.
There goes another interesting player in the high roller.
David Yan says, you didn't answer my question. Obviously, we plugged the fact that David Yan was going to be coming in as a guest commentator, but we didn't actually tell David who our current co-commentator is. It's Lina Olofsson, the Swedish blogger, David.
His next comment's even better, by the way. Maybe Cal should go clubbing for his birthday.
Hey! Leslie says, Joe, you nailed it.
A lot of action on Matthias.
You think Calvin Anderson's upset that he rivered that ace, but...
It was the ace of clubs.
Yeah.
Not being funny, I think if you get it in with ace-king against kings, you will gladly take a chop, however the board runs.
And I'm sure Kesnan would rather the ace of clubs hit than any other ace.
Tell you what, this has been a bizarre day so far, and we're not even one full level in. So Kersanen raises to 60,000. Bidun re-raises to
How do
137,000.
5 clubs peel off there? I'm sorry, that's crazy town.
Looks like the decision is back on Kersinen.
That's like the only way they can chop, other than what, putting Broadway out there or something, right? With the Case King.
I'm not going to lie to you, it was really, really weird.
Is that a 4-bet? Yeah.
So I guess from Calvin Anderson's perspective, the ace was basically always coming, so Kersinen basically hit a 1 in 4 shot to chop it.
Yeah, he looks really happy about that.
And that's the kind of thing that can sometimes, not typically these level players, but that can unravel you. Chopping a big pot like that, getting that unlucky. I mean, look, you didn't lose, but that's still awfully unlucky.
Got another all-in at the outer table.
It's my Norwegian, my Dane.
Lasse Christensen.
You're allowed to get them confused. If we do that,
Yeah.
people cry foul on Twitter.
I think his surname is Frost, though, not Christiansen. Because the Danes calls him Lars Frost in the articles.
Because he's ice cold. Look at him.
Yeah.
And looks like it's,
Yasser Gudin,
yeah.
the original Razor.
Good, and asking for an exact count of Christensen's stack. Lars Frost sounds more like a crime writer than a poker player,
Yeah.
The newest novel from Lars Frost.
which is going to
But it's a
involve
cool
some really
name.
brutal beheadings and torture and
Unnecessary tank.
By the way, just to tell you what happened back at our feature table, Kersinen re-raised, Bidun called, Kersinen continued on the flop, won the pot. So he's up to 1.5 million now. Meanwhile, we'll see if Yasser Gudin wants to call Lasse Christensen's all in on the outer table.
And it looks like Gudin's got this pretty well covered. Not to say he wants to lose this many chips.
Go Denmark. He almost showed us there what he had.
He's showing everyone.
Everyone one card.
And folds, so the all-in gets through. And the Russians are jealous, you see, because they know we've got a
They're
variety
singing.
of tunes, including our Chop
They
Pot
just
song.
sang Everybody Loves a Chop Pot. Everybody loves a pre-flop fold. I think that's what it was right there.
And you think Swedish sounds like hurdy-gurdy. Listen to him.
Now Ilya's scolding everyone for being off key.
He will actually physically strike them later. Well, according to one of those funky poker odds calculators, the chance of a chop in that hand, ace king of hearts against king of spades, king of diamonds, is 0.82%. And Andrew Back says 5 clubs is karma for the Finnish guy stalling.
Eh,
Word.
it's a little harsh. How about karma for people that actually like do evil things in the world instead of some guy that took too long to make a poker decision?
Kersinen raising under the gun here. Getting to the end of the level, just 4 minutes on the clock. We'll have a 20-minute break for you.
So that's less than one hand.
He's been very active since they went down to 2 tables. He's making up for all the stalling.
Vidun has called. As has Roman Harold, so it looks like there have been 2... No, just Vidun.
Did you see the album Matt Harper made?
From the media tournament?
No, it's EPT Berlin Fashion. The guy with the moustache is actually in that album. Not because of his clothing. And so is his friend, the guy walking around with this very colorful, looked like a one piece.
The Russian guy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's wearing his jammies. We're going to have 3-way action here.
Aliev calling from the big blind as well. Ace, deuce, deuce with 2 spades. Aliev checks. Kersinen, pre-flop aggressor.
Hey, Bron's on you. I was kind of joking about only getting 1 more hand in before the break, but that is the most we're going to get in.
I genuinely didn't think you were joking.
Kersinen continues. Quick call from Padun.
Aliev folds, heads up to the turn.
Kersinen's got to put the brakes on now, right? There's the check. Padun can bet his ace. Padun does not bet, he checks.
Let's see the river card then. Jack of spades. Well, he bet flop, check turn. Kersinen now bets river.
Quick call.
Padun calls.
Muck. Kersinen's gonna muck.
Yeah. Which means, and we discussed this rule in detail yesterday with EPT Live Events host Neil Johnson, Daniel Gopadun wins the pot uncontested. So a reminder that we will have another EPT Live free roll today, but registration isn't even open yet. So no point in asking for the password. We'll give that information a bit later on today, and then you'll have the chance to play some poker in around 6.5 hours' time.
Although there has been a pattern to the passwords. They've all been EPT Berlin winners. Yesterday was Wilanowski. The day before that, someone else.
Katai.
Katai.
There've only been 3, Joe.
So
Today might be,
it
Kevin.
would stand to reason. Just saying. Think about it. Use the grape.
So we've managed to squeeze in 1 more hand, which is probably going to eat into the entirety of our break.
Unfortunately, Neil J gave away what our password pattern was. Dang that Neil J. Are we going to have Neil J back in here?
Apparently he's in a meeting.
Neil J is in a meeting.
I wanted to drag him in here to talk about some of the rulings that we'd heard discussed today, but sadly he's unavailable. So
Neil J is the best guy to talk to about that.
Julian Thomas raising here to 65,000. A reminder, by the way, that when we do come back from the break, assuming we actually get one, we'll be joined by Mike McDonald. So if you've got a question for Timex, nuts@pokerstars.tv for your emails.
So he's also out from the high roller then.
I would say that was astute analysis, Lina. I love it, do you hear that?
So just take a little decision.
Julian Thomas says, can you please make a decision quickly because we're meant to be on break?
It's fair.
Well, you've given him every incentive possible not to make a quick decision.
Why? He's not stalling just to upset everyone else.
Now he might be though.
The thing is, Thomas's hand is declared dead if he goes on break, but not mine. See ya.
Stapes is out of here. So we'll keep it going, Lina.
Yeah. If I was Matthias, I would think for at least 3 minutes here. Even if I had 7 deuce. Just to annoy Thomas.
Oh, this is brilliant. Luca!
Where are you? Oh, he's on a break. Oh, there she is. He is.
Okay, Julian, you asked for quick decisions, so make a quick decision. Are you going to play this, or are you going to fold? Bless Alia for hanging around to spectate. There's the fold. Kesner says, I have a good hand this time. What does he show?
Ace, king.
So that's the last hand of the level. 15 players remain in the EPT Berlin main event. Thank you, Lina, for coming by, making your EPT Live debut.
Thank you.
The action continues in 15 minutes' time here at EPT Berlin.